Welcome to my Cheat Engine tutorial. In this series, we're going to cover a wide range of topics from what Cheat Engine is, what does it do, and how to use it, to some basic things like how to find values, what do types mean, and to some more advanced things like assembly scripts and code injection and things of that nature. There's a basic plan that I'm going to follow, and I'm going to pull that up right now. It is conveniently called the plan. Before I jump into that, I'd like to point out that that is some fancy wallpaper on my desktop there. I am an anime fan, and hopefully you can pay attention to what I'm saying and not stare at the wallpaper. All right, so the mission statement, if you will, is a tour of Cheat Engine, but I don't think that that's entirely accurate for a mission statement. That's more of a generalization, if you will, about what this series is going to be. I think if I had to summarize the mission statement, it would be how to use Cheat Engine instead of a tour of it, and that will become clearer as we go through and do different things and explore how to use Cheat Engine itself. As far as inspiration, there's a couple YouTube videos, a couple good tutorials on the Cheat Engine forums. One person's name in particular you can see listed right here in the actual file. I encourage you to look him up on YouTube. He's got a 3-part series that is I found very useful. Certainly pointed me in the right direction as far as how to use Cheat Engine. Who am I? As it says, I'm just some dude. To be clear, I'm not involved in the development or the maintenance of Cheat Engine in any way. No official capacity or any unofficial capacity, to be absolutely clear. I use Cheat Engine. I think it's pretty cool, pretty awesome, pretty funky. Funky student, one might say. There's other programs out there that you can use. For me, I've tried a couple others. I don't know. Cheat Engine I'm just comfortable with it. It makes sense to me. So I don't know. It's personal preference to some degree, but I just happen to like Cheat Engine, and so I'm making a series of videos about it. That's all the endorsement you're going to get. Why am I doing this? There's some confusion about exactly how to use Cheat Engine, and that's not inherent to Cheat Engine itself. That's more, I think that's more a product of what memory editors and scripting engines and whatnot do in general, rather than it is, again, it's not inherent to Cheat Engine. It's just sort of the nature of the beast, as it were, and that's something that I'll get into more as the series progresses. But there's a lot of people who ask a lot of questions, and there's a lot of basic answers that will solve it. And put another way, perhaps a clearer way, understanding some basic fundamentals about programming and memory in general will clear up a lot of these questions, and hopefully, it just help people in general to be able to better use this program and others like it. This is not me trying to cut down on forum traffic or something like that. This is just I'm like to help people understand things, and I'm hoping that this series and what I have to say will help people better understand memory editing, memory, and just things of that nature in general. So there's a slightly altruistic goal thrown in there, but we'll see how effective I can be at maybe helping people later on. Once we start to get into some of that stuff. My experience with Cheat Engine, I've used it. I've downloaded tables and whatnot for games for probably about a year or two. As far as me actually making tables and things like that, I'd say maybe around 6 months. For me actually using the code injection and slightly more advanced things like that. But I also, I'm a programmer by trade. That's what I do for a job. It's what I get paid for. I do C, C++, Python, things like that. I do web frameworks, but I also do like back-end system work. So I have a decent grasp on how these things function on a on an actual level as opposed to a more abstract um, on a more abstract level, I guess is what I would say. So, again, I'm not an expert with Cheat Engine, and I don't claim to be. Um, I'm just some guy who happens to use it, who thinks he might have something to contribute, and it doesn't go any further than that. And if I help some people, that's great. And if I don't, then I'm not forcing you to watch the video. So that's what I would say about that. What does Cheat Engine do? Basically, Cheat Engine is something that will scan the memory of a running program based on the process name. And if that doesn't make any sense to you, that's all right. We'll get into that a little bit later. But it scans their process, or it scans the memory of a process, and it looks for certain values among other things. But for now, we'll just say that all it does is look for values. And it looks for values in the memory of that process, and then you can search for an initial value. You can filter it down to other values. So an example might be the health of a player. So let's say you're playing a first-person shooter, and for simplicity, we'll say it actually doesn't have health regeneration. So you launch the game, you go into it, you launch Cheat Engine, you attach it to the process, and then you go into an area and you get shot, and then you quickly go behind cover, and your health is a certain value. We'll just say 87. So you go, alt tab out or whatever you have to do. You go into Cheat Engine, you look for 87. Okay, you got 5 million hits or whatever it is, and then you go back into the game. You walk out, you get shot again. Your health goes down to 80. So you go back behind cover, and you filter the results down until you get down to a manageable amount of addresses that you can start poking values into. In a nutshell, in a brief summation, that's what Cheat Engine does, or at least that's what most people use it for. It's certainly capable of more advanced features, which is something that I'll get into later. But for our initial premise, we will just put forth the idea that Cheat Engine plays with memory values, and that's it. What is the purpose of Cheat Engine? That's a subjective question. I mean, some people say, oh, I use it to role play my fantasy or whatever. Everyone has some excuse, I imagine, but basically, to me, the purpose of it is to change memory. I'm not going to imbue any deeper motive than that. It's there, it scans memory, it changes memory, and then how you interpret that is completely subjective and up to you. So I'm not going to go any deeper than that. What is memory? In the context of what I just said, it's just basically a value. So to use the previous example again, I mean, you're in a first-person shooter, you have 87 for health. That's memory. That's a value. So, but more specifically, 87 would be the value. So my health is 87. The value of my health is 87. That's great. So our health has a value. But how do we find that health? We find it by scanning the memory. So anything that has a value is in memory. And that sort of, maybe I'm not entirely or being super clear about that or whatnot, depending on the experience that you have with programming and memory in general. But that hopefully I'll do a better job down the road and further videos. But basically, anything that has a value is stored in memory, and we can find that memory location that stores that value. And once you find that location that has that value, then you can write all sorts of rules about, do I want to change it? Do I not want to change it? What do I want to change it to? And all sorts of other dynamic things. But the initial step is finding that location in memory, or at least we're going to put forth the idea for simplicity that the first step is always finding that location in memory. The final thing, if you have a high enough definition, then you can read the question and you already know the answer. So that's going to be the end of this video, and I'll get into some of the more values / types details in the next video.